Hey, what's going on, guys? What's going on? I'm gonna give you guys time to come into the chat. Take your time as you come in. We are going to get started right now. And there's your music. All right, everybody. All right. What's going on? I want to say hello to everybody. Welcome to drboycetv.com, the home for intelligent Black people. This is where we have intelligent conversations about critical issues in our community. If you are not Black and intelligent, you may want to get the hell out because this conversation is about to get real heated and real serious. And we're going to talk about reparations and all different kinds of issues. And I'm going to tell you what, first of all, I want you guys, if you're in the chat, shout out your city. Let us know what city that you're from. Tell us what city you're from. And also, I'm about to send a text message out to the rest of the tribe and let them know that we're live. If you want to get a text notification when we go live, a couple things you can do. One, hit the notification bell. Very important on the YouTube video to hit the notification button so that you can get notified by YouTube. Don't just subscribe, hit the notification button. If you're on Facebook, I would like to ask you, first of all, welcome to everybody from Black Knowledge. I see Rebecca from Compton and Lisa. How are you? Good to see you. Please share this to your Facebook page. If you could, please share this to your Facebook page. And what I'm gonna do is shout out some of your cities right here. I got to start off by shouting out Sean from Louisville because I'm from Louisville, not Louisville, Louisville. We got Mia Sykes from Vietnam, originally from Inglewood. We got Ron from Durham, North Carolina. Fennell from Baltimore, Katrina from Orlando, Miss Melanie, Maryland, Papa One, Vegas, Meat Time Candle Company, Indianapolis. Let's see, Los Angeles, Akron, Ohio, Minneapolis again from Medea. Edgar is the one from Akron, Ohio, Hartford, Connecticut, Baltimore, Cleveland, Philly, all the way down the list. And I see Houston in here as well. The All Black National Convention happens next week in Houston. If you'd like to come out, and if you are super Black every single day of the week and twice on Sundays, you want to come to the All Black National Convention, you can get your passes now at allblacknationalconvention.com. That's allblacknationalconvention.com. We're expecting a sold out crowd, so you may want to get your pass in advance just to make sure that you're covered, make sure you have a seat. Feel free to go check that out. If you want to watch the live stream, go to allblackeducation.com. That's allblackeducation.com. The live stream is not free, but you can sign up for All Black Education, which is our digital platform that has all different kinds of content and films and educational lectures and everything else for the whole family. So feel free to go check that out. Now, today I have the honor of speaking with my respected colleague and friend and a guy that I just think is amazing. He is the originator. Many of you have heard these conversations about reparations and this reparations debate. We saw the Revolt Summit, which was very well done by Diddy, or I guess Diddy was in the crowd anyway. And you saw T.I. and Killer Mike and a lot of guys up there on the stage and Candace Owens. But here's the thing, right? If you're going to talk about reparations, you're going to talk about political movements amongst Black people, we got to make sure we go to the source. We got to make sure we go to the beginning. Dr. Claud Anderson, the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, also the Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2, is one of the originators in this whole debate. He is a man who has been fighting on reparations for 50 years. He has been filing lawsuits for reparations. He has been doing the historical research on reparations. Give me a yes or no if you own any of Dr. Anderson's books. If you own Dr. Anderson's books, say, yes, I do. Yes, I own one of his, mention that you own one of his books because Dr. Anderson's book provides receipts on reparations. Black Labor, White Wealth provides receipts on how much they owe us. Black Labor, White Wealth, and Powernomics provide blueprints and plans and analysis and scientific research. And from one scholar to the other, what I'm going to say is that y'all don't understand. This ain't like somebody just sitting down and just, you know, spewing a bunch of words on a page and saying, I wrote a book because I sat down and typed on my computer for 3 days. No, the scientific research means that there's references. If you go through these books, there's historical analysis, there's charts, there's diagrams. He could tell you what a slave cost in 1845. He could tell you exactly how much money was made. He gives a list of all the acts that were passed that restricted slaves' rights at different times and how it translated into wealth. On 1660, the Connecticut military law. 1664, the Maryland marriage law, enactment of the first anti-interracial marriage statutes. 1667, the British Plantation Act, established codes of conduct for slaves and slaveholders. 1705, Massachusetts Anti-Miscegenation Act. I'm mispronouncing the word. Criminalized interracial marriages, right? So there's a long list of lots of facts and statistics, diagrams, and breakdowns that Dr. Anderson can provide that need to be a part of this conversation. And he hasn't been let, and Dr. Anderson, I hope you'll forgive me. I have to get this, I got to get this out. But, you know, you're hearing a lot of people talking about reparations right now, and they're great. They're wonderful people. It's great. Everybody needs to be talking about, but here's the thing. We must include in that discussion the people who've done the research, the people who can provide the receipts, the people who can provide the information. Now, I'm gonna give y'all, I'm gonna reveal some private information here, you know, because I talked to different people behind the scenes, and I don't think it's so. I think it's okay for me to reveal this. I got a text from Charlemagne the God, who wants to bring Dr. Claud Anderson onto the Breakfast Club, and I think that would literally be one of the most significant decisions in this entire movement, because you know, exposure to the masses of some of the ideas in terms of powernomics principles, which provide group-based wealth plans for the Black community, power plans for the Black community will be critical. Also, Black labor, white wealth. If you haven't read that book, I'm gonna just tell you guys, the reason I'm an evangelist for this book is because that book changed my life. Because when I read it, I saw things, and it helped me understand America in a way I'd never understood it before. So with that said, and without further ado, I'd like to ask my friend, Dr. Claud Anderson, how you doing today, sir?
Fine, sir. How are you doing?
I'm doing very well, and I appreciate you allowing me a couple minutes to run my mouth and whatnot. And I'm gonna do less talking and now and let you do the talking. But I felt like it was important to start the conversation there because I wanted to ask you about this. There was a summit recently on Revolt TV, which I thought was just such a great idea, and it was a great debate where they basically had a couple of Republicans on there, a couple of Democrats, Democrat-leaning candidates on there, a couple of hip hop artists on there, and they were talking about politics, the election, what Black people need to do, you know, economic empowerment, reparations, and things like that. And I wanted to get your take. I know you hadn't had a chance to see the whole summit yet. I'm gonna send you the link so you can watch it in detail. But you know, one of the things I said about the summit is that I love the guys that were there. And the women that were there. I loved, you know, I love listening to T.I. and Killer Mike. These are guys that I respect. They had Tamika Mallory, who is a great woman, you know, who does great things. But I felt that we need also thinkers, scholars, and elders on panels like this, so that we could talk about, you know, what work has already been done, so we're not feeling like we're starting from scratch. Like this is nothing new. So, Dr. Anderson, can you maybe talk about some of the things that you've worked on in the reparations arena over the last, you know, say 50 years or so?
I'll be delighted to. And first of all, let me compliment you for focusing on that topic about reparations. That's a popular issue across the country right now. But as you indicated, unfortunately, too many people are jumping on board the bandwagon. They're jumping on there for some of them for the wrong reason. They're jumping on there to do an ego trip and to be able to get some kind of public recognition without having a basic foundation, understanding what the issues are. And that's very dangerous for the reparation movement. They be able to be up and visible and not be properly equipped to be able to explain why you entitle reparations and be able to push back against a white pushback against Black folk ever getting reparations. So that's very important. And I'm sure that the people you met with in the meeting that you referenced were very qualified and competent people, and I applaud that and I compliment them for that. But what I try to do in my lifetime, going back since I was first got engaged in politics years ago, and I found out from all of my research and my studies in various universities, was that Black folk are an exceptional people, that they're an exceptional people. And anybody who tries to equate them in very broad, vigorous terms does do injury to Black folk, period. And so I said, I'm going to try to do what nobody else has done in the history of this nation, as far as I'm concerned, and that is to strictly focus on Black people. So after being with presidents and governors and heading trade missions around the world, having economic development commissions for presidents or for the city of Miami, and being as a as a chairman for economic development for governors, I said, I got an obligation and a responsibility to speak up for Black folk. I said, I don't want to speak up for anybody else. I'm not against anybody else. I'm not against any other groups in these fabricated groups, but I'm just strictly focusing on Black folk. And so what I said I was going to do as soon as I left government is to do what's never been done and what you just alluded to. I said, I'm gonna get out here and bring to bear and conflate all in my experiences and training in all levels of government, all in major corporations and businesses, my own businesses, and in politics, and in over education for the state of Florida, and running conventions for presidents and stuff. I'm gonna conflate that and put out 5 books. And this is what, and here's where our people of major in the mind have missed it. Those 5 books are planned. Those 5 books collectively, which I call the Powernomics Library, that is a national plan for Black folk to get reparations. Start out with the first one you mentioned, Black labor, white wealth. I just read in the paper this morning, people say, well, how do we know these things? How do we find out who Black people are? How do we find out, how do you justify asking for reparations? The Black labor, white labor book, it shows out in very defined terms, definitive terms, as a matter of fact, with timelines that show you exactly every trick, every technique, every public law, every custom, everything that white folk did to maldistribute almost 100% of all this nation's wealth, power, minerals, rights, resources, businesses, income, privilege, everything into the hands of the dominant white society. There's never been a book like that. That book is called The Second Bible by Evan and Jett years ago. That is a foundation. Yet I hear these people talking about on TV and on the radio and in the newspaper about reparations. None of them even mention that. They have no founding how did white folks get all the resources, get all the money, get all the power? What is the basis of our problem? I've never, even in doing the civil rights movement, ever heard a Black civil rights leader be able to focus on the right thing. They majored in the minors. The issue should never have been social integration, because that was not the problem. Social integration was not our problem. Our problem was that there had been a total maldistribution of all the resources and controls of power and wealth in this country in the hands of the white society. Black folk had never owned and controlled more than 1/2 or 1% of anything of value, which makes it humanly impossible in theory and practice for them to be a competitive group and survive in America. Can't be done. But all that's in Black labor, white wealth. In the second book, I said, here's a power number to show you how to go about doing it. It's called Powernomics, the second book, going up vertically. That tells you, here's a national plan and inculcates all kinds of strategies and solutions about what Black folks should be doing to try to gain wealth and power. And then with that laid, then the next 2 books called Dirty Little Secrets 1 and Dirty Little Secrets 2. I wrote those for a very specific reason in terms of reparations for Black folk. It says in these books that I wrote 1,000, listen to this now, Dr. Watkins, I wrote 1,000 factoids, unknown things about what Black folk have done in this country and around the world to make them very significant people, to show that nobody has been maltreated, mistreated, subordinated, castrated, lynched, exploited, misused like Black people in America. That's why I don't call them African American, I call them Native Americans. Nobody in the earth can be equated and equal to them. And yet I look on TV, there are a lot of these people going to these reparations meetings talking about, they're gonna talk about people of African descent. Hell, everybody's of African descent. What person got more than 3rd grade education will go out and try to get reparations for Black folk when they violate one of the first principles in Powernomics, which says this: never go into a marketplace or into a political arena in a very broad term seeking anything. You don't use a shotgun, you use a rifle. You don't go into, you got to go in there very specific for a very specific thing. Black people are entitled to reparations because they're special people. And I hear them talk about, well, we're going to talk about reparations for gays, American Indians, for incoming immigrants, for Blacks from African America, Blacks from the Caribbean. No. When you do that, you give grounds and justification for whites to push back and say, hey, we don't know all those people anything. We enslaved only Blacks in this country. And we denuded them, so they're not even African Americans. Since every human being on earth, came out of Africa and around the world. So how could you, so that makes everybody on the earth is an African American, people of African descent. How are you going to have a group trying to get reparations for Black based on people of African descent? Hell, that's everybody. You can't, well, we're going to do it on minorities. You can't do it on minorities. Hell, the white male is a minority. The slaveholders were minorities. Well, we're gonna do it for browns and Blacks. Hell, browns in the country, every one of these browns, Indians, Arabs, and Hispanics, they were slave owners. You can't. Well, we're going to do it for. We get reparations. We're all going to sue it for gender, for gay people. No, you can't do that. Gays also own slaves. You got to be very specific when you're trying to go after reparations for Black folk. But I said in those Dirty Little Secrets book, here are 1,000 things, facts or stories that says that Black folk are unique people, special people. There's nobody like them in this country. And the last book at the top was called 101 Questions That Never Been Asked About Black folk. But here are the answers. And that library pack then says in very specific vertical terms, here is a plan. And yet every discussion on reparations, not one that I've heard, not one in any paper I've read, not one in a magazine has yet ever mentioned those things I just laid out for you. So most of them don't know what they're talking about, but they're more inclined to get their picture taken and get some voice and emotionalize an issue. And that does a disservice to Black folk, and it sets our reparation movement back by 1,000 damn years. And that's why I'm very concerned, and I hope they do well in the future, and I support them. But until the day comes when they got those books and they got a background of knowledge to understand the real issues, and they can push back against whites who's saying, I don't owe you a damn thing. You be able to look in those books and read and say, yes, you do, and here's why you owe it. And see, and that's what McConnell is talking about. I don't owe Black folk anything. My people didn't own any slaves, but they have to read those books. It doesn't make any difference who owned the slaves, it's who got the benefits of slavery. So in a long story short, that's what I know about reparations. That's why I don't attend some of those things. And I want Black folk to get a better understanding. Until then, I'm gonna stay outside and just watch it.
All right, everybody who's watching, please hit the thumbs up button. Please hit the thumbs up, share, and subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you'll be notified when we go live. I'm speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson. He's the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, and Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. If you want to know my opinion, I really believe that you guys should forget the regular educational system. I hope I've convinced you that it's poison. Give me a yes or no if you understand the degree to which the public school system is poison. Give me a yes or no if you understand the degree to which they are denying you access to true history. Please give me a yes or no if you understand how badly they're miseducating your children and lying to them and not telling them the important things they need to understand. This is why these debates go left, is because most of the time, many of these debates are being led by people who don't have any education on any of this. It's not their fault. Is that they went to schools and they were being trained by massa. Like, well, massa ain't gonna teach you the truth. Massa will not teach you. I'm looking right here in Black Labor, White Wealth. Massa ain't gonna teach you about the Negro Act of 1740. Do any of you all know about the Negro Act of 1740? This is right here in Black Labor, White Wealth. The Negro Act of 1740. In fact, Dr. Anderson, I'm gonna read some of these things in your timeline that you have on page 128 from 1705 to 1760. And I'd like for you to comment on any one of these that you think Black people need to understand on mass to understand how that links to the reparations conversation. And by the way, everybody, some of you are asking this. All of Dr. Anderson's books are at powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. He also has a YouTube channel. If you look for his name, and I'll find the link and I'll share it in the chat also on drboycetv.com. You should follow him on YouTube as well. So Dr. Anderson, I'm gonna read through some of your timeline because I think people should really understand that, these negotiations require an understanding of history. And there are so many laws and rules and codes and procedures that were put in place that that you really can't have a structured debate if you don't understand even 10-20% of this. When you just emotionalize and you say we deserve reparations because we were lynched or whatever, you have to be a little more specific. And I think that what this book did for me was it helped me understand how specific and how clear, right, how strategic they were in terms of making sure that they controlled us and they sucked wealth out of us. In fact, the whole Black community was basically like the NCAA. With the athletes, they got a rule book this thick to make sure the athletes never get any of the economic benefits, right? They make all these you cannot accept a piece of candy from a coach, unless the candy is orange flavored, just whatever. And so basically they did the whole Black community the way the NCAA does athletes. So I'm gonna read some of these to you, Dr. Anderson. And you
what page is that on that you turn to?
Page 128 in Black Labor, White Wealth. Here you have on one timeline. This is an example of some of the timelines that he puts in his books, where he breaks down why reparations are deserved and how wealth was stolen from you. So So I'm gonna read some of the years and some of the pieces of the timeline. I like for you to pick any of these that you want and explain some of this to us so we can understand it better. 1705, the slave codes were enacted. So around 1711, Virginia established the slave squealing system. Between 1711 and looks like 1780, there were more than 150 slave revolts attempted. Nearly all were exposed by Black informers. So this is before COINTELPRO. This has always been around. The slave revolt exposed in New York around 1718. Let's see, between 1723 and 1738, the government prohibits slave manumissions except for informers. A little bit after 1738, a slave revolt was exposed in Maryland. The Negro Act of 1740 came out in 1740. Northern segregation began a little bit after that. And then also after that, South and North Carolina offered free land to white males who owned female slaves. And so can you pick any of these that I just mentioned to you and help us understand them a little bit better, and also how it plays out in terms of the life that we're living right now?
Okay, I'll try to do that as quickly as I can. You know, I'm very long-winded, as you probably know. Okay, let me go back to first. You mentioned 1705, the slave codes. After it began in 1705, whites wanted to say what we need to do now that we've enacted constitutions that says that Black folk are to be property, 3/5 of a human being, equal to a field animal, and to be in this country personally for the enrichment and the personal comfort of whites, period. They said we need to, but we need to define how this is going to operate. So the slave codes was written to tell whites how to behave towards Black folk and how Blacks were to behave towards whites. What that slave code said in 1705. 1705 was a slave code. And just, let me jump aside one second. And in that slave code, it had the Diversity Act was a part of it. So you want to know that. So right now you hear people talking about we're into diversity. That was part of the slave codes. And then they're now enacted. You see all these white Black folks talk about, I'm for diversity. But you going all the way back to 1705. But in the slave codes, what they said they wanted to do was to spell out very specifically how whites were to treat Black folk. Like saying, for instance, never give a Black man any respect. Call him by a name, a first name that you give him, or any other name. Never give him a last name. 2, that make sure that he is not elevated to a status that is equal to or above a white person. 3, he should never look out a window that a white folk person is looking out of. 4, that he should never play games with a white person. 5, he should never look up at a white person. He must always look down. 6, he must, and all that is going on, but that was how Blacks were to behave. That became a code of etiquette, which says these are ways you ought to be, the way you ought to act as a slave. That was a code that was perpetuated through all the colonies. On the backside of that, they told whites, here's what you ought to do. You ought to make sure that they adhere to these codes. And if a Black person violates them, he's to be punished. He's to be punished for violating any of these codes. If you get anywhere near a white woman, for instance, he's to be punished. And if you kill him, fine. So then it's an insurance company said we were covered. If you kill a Black person for disruptive behavior, he was covered by insurance, which means if he beat a Black person to death, insurance would reimburse him for it. The insurance company was in collaboration with killing Black folk and beating them. They also cut up these deals in South Carolina, for instance, that Indians would be participants, and that Indians would chase all these Black people down and bring them back, as I said, getting paid $25 for every Black slave, runaway slave they brought back to the master. They couldn't bring him back physically, but then they said, you get the $25. They said, bring him back. You can bring back his scalp with his ears attached. You get $20. They told him.
Dr. Anderson, can I hope you don't mind me.
Jump right in.
Real quick, because I kind of need us to like process this in slow motion, what you just said. I don't know about everybody else, but I need to hear this again, because the thing is that the suffering that our people have gone through in this country is so deep that sometimes we gloss over it. You know, we just talk about it, and it's like too many facts to mention that we just kind of,
I'll slow down for you.
No, yeah, no. You keep going, but I want to repeat my version of what I heard just now in the last 45 seconds come out of your mouth. If a white person killed a Black slave for acting up, the insurance company reimbursed them for having to kill. I mean, that's very deep. That the insurance company would reimburse you for losing your property.
That's right. That was property.
Which you can't even do that with an animal. Like you can't even kill you can't even say my dog got out of line. I killed my dog. Give me money for my dog. So we were lower than a dog. Like we were lower than animals. I can't even think of anything that there is. I mean, can you tell me, guys, if you can think of anything that I could, like, if I have something that acts out of line and I kill it and I get reimbursed. Not like, forget getting arrested and punished, but I get reimbursed. And it seems like that connects to how people respond, when police kill Black people, when anybody kills a Black person. And then the other thing that got me, you said something right after that too. Oh, the Indians, right? A lot of us, went to school and were taught that the Indians were allies, that the Indians were helping Black people. We say it again?
You've been watching those John Wayne movies, so somehow thinking that Blacks and Indians are together. That's one of the biggest myths that have been perpetuated in the society. Slavery could have never existed in this country and been maintained without the full support and involvement of the major civilized tribes in America. The reason they were called civilized is because they were taught to cease being savages and to settle down and start become farmers, clear the land, have slaves clear the land, raise crops just like the white man would. And once you do that, you support the enslavement institution itself, and we would give you some land. Not land, but we'll give you clothes, food, guns, and classify you as civilized. Now, 5 civilized tribes were made up of the Cherokee, Choctaw, Chickasaw, and Creek Seminole Indians. And those were the 5 civilized tribes, and all of them signed up to fight with the South to maintain slavery. The first law was enacted in 1516 for the New York Treaty. And every treaty contained a provision saying support slavery and you'll be rewarded and compensated. That's why those 5 civilized tribes, and keep in mind, all those smaller tribes were underneath those 5 tribes. You might have had the Iroquois and the Apache and the Sioux and other tribes underneath, and the Blackfeet. Those were smaller tribes. The big tribes were the 5 civilized tribes: Choctaw, Cherokee, Creek, and Indians. Period. They were the big ones. They signed, and that's why in the end of the Civil War, when the war broke out for the Civil War, those tribes signed agreements, written agreements with the South, saying we will fight to the death to maintain slavery because we have accepted your status of being a civilized tribe and being associated with you all, identified with you, and getting benefits from you, and that we own slaves. We are slave traders and slave owners, and therefore, and slave chasers. We are chased down your slaves for. We're going to fight now to maintain our level of income and status by helping you maintain slavery. So all those 5 civilized tribes fought with the South to maintain slavery. As a matter of fact, when the Civil War ended, the last general to give up was a general called Stand Waite. General Stand Waite was a Cherokee, and he was the last one to give up. But in the meantime, when the Civil War broke out in 1860s, and when it ended in 1864 and 1865, the Indians also followed what's called a black flag policy. The black flag policy says if you catch a black, if any of these blacks decide to fight back and join the Union Army, when you catch him, kill him immediately and instantly. Never take a black person prison. Now, you could take a white person prison if he was with the Union Army. That's why you had Andersonville, South Carolina, where they had all these prisoners out, Union soldiers down in prison. But they say you can never take a black. So no Southerners, no white Southerners in the Confederate Army, nor any Indians would ever take a black person as a prison. They slaughtered them, and they killed them right out. They would throw them in the river, stuff like that, and you're on the heads and shoot them in the head while they were floating in the water. So I don't know why, so black folk bought that myth. That's they were our friends, and and they've been mistreated, maltreated like black folk. That's a lie. That's a lie. Indians have been in with the Federal Indian Bureau. Each one gets on an average of about $28,000 a year in income from the Federal Indian Bureau every year. And use a more specific example, I want to go down to the Seminole Indians down south, right now in the South, like Florida, for instance, that based on what they got in terms of ownership in those gambling casinos and some of those major restaurants, that they average out about $135,000 each every year. And plus, and for years, they didn't pay any taxes. They had, and while it was against the law for a black person to go to school, the government made Indians to go to school. Think about that. where black slaves were denied the right to go to school. Anybody caught trying to educate a black man would be subject to a $100 fine and 39 lashes on his ass with a whip to be caught teaching a black person to read and write and do math. But by the same token, an Indian was forced, mandated. They built Indian schools. They had to go to school. And yet they now talking about, we've been beat up like black. Well, that's a damn lie. You slavehold blacks, and then when the Civil War finally ended, that in this country, after 2 years after the Civil War ended, the Choctaw and Chickasaw Indians were still holding about 12,000 and 15,000 blacks each, and still being enslaved. 2 years after the war was over, blacks were still being held in slavery without about those tribes in the country. That's why the federal government had to go into those Indian territories and force them to turn those blacks loose. And when they turn them loose, say, you better give them $100, and the government gave them money. That every Indian tribe should have given black folk $100 in the pocket when they left slavery. And also gave them access to the land, to the resources in those reservations, the access to the schools. They have made them tax exempt, and allow them to use the resources. That's what the 1866 Indian treaties are about. And your subscribers right now, your listeners, they can go look up the 1866 Indian treaties and see what benefits Indians got. And right now, Indians are still mistreating black folk. And in conclusion, to answer your statement, I know I'm running way past your time, is that those Indians supposed to have been taking care of blacks. They owe blacks. Indians owe blacks an indebtedness. And yet Obama and the rest of these politicians like Elizabeth Warren talk about, we got to give reparations for Indians. For what? For what? They said, well, they lost. They didn't lose no damn land. The land didn't belong to them. If you were to go to the Powernomics book, look in the Powernomics book, I show you a model for reparations for black folk by doing what Indians did. Indians have been getting reparations now since the 1866 treaty based on one simple misunderstanding, that they own the land, that they own the land when the white man come here. They did not own the land when the white man came here. Blacks, the Folsom people and other blacks, the Moors have been here way before those Indians ever arrived when they came across the Bering Straits, 15 or 16,000 years ago. But they've been getting reparations until the present time. Obama gave them $35 billion while he was in office. Didn't give 1 penny to black folk. Now, when I said black slaves for reparations, the treaties consist of 3 things for blacks: black Indians, freed blacks, and blacks who were free and period, just roaming free. And plus those who, as I said, freed black who have been set. That's why they call them freemen. But all those blacks in those treaties should have been getting benefits to the present time. That's why one of my lawsuits right now is pending in the appeals court, federal courts, and also the 6th Circuit Court. And yet I can't find one black person, not one black person got enough damn sense to understand the nature of the issues. Those have been, we're going to talk about reparations. How do you tell you to talk about reparations on an emotional issue? You can't even get it on the legal issue. Those treaties were treaties of the grandest law in the land. It's a super law. A treaty is a super law, and that's been recognized by Congress. Okay, and you got those treaties, and those black folk entitled to all these benefits, and not one black elected official, not one black civil rights leader has ever come out and say, we're going to demand, not ask for it, not beg for it, not crawl for it, not kiss butt for it. We're going to demand that this nation begin to honor those black treaties and start delivering those benefits to black folk. Right now, black folks should be able to get land from the federal government, just like Indians did, and be able to build their own damn gambling casinos in their own damn communities. And yet, not one could do it. Not one politician's raised it. And Obama didn't do a damn thing for black folk while he was in office all those years, 8 years. Every year he would invite 564 white Indian chiefs, so-called white Indian chiefs, to the White House and give them $3.5 billion a year. And this in conclusion, 92% of all the whites in the country claiming to be Indians are not even Indians. 92% of just white folks who are passing as Indians because their grandparents paid $5. History called them $5. They paid $5 to go to the Dawes Commission and pay the Dawes Commission $5. They put their name on the Dawes rolls that they were Indians when they weren't Indians. The Dawes rolls have been going around identifying those black Indians and those free black men and free blacks and put them on the Dawes rolls and give them a Dawes number so they can get benefits. But the whites went around and paid $5 They put their name on the dollar's rolls. That's why all these whites like Elizabeth Warren said, my great grandmother was in India. My great daddy was in India. Every white claims they got Indian blood. 92% of them have never had any Indian blood, never will be Indians. But they try to pass as Indians to get benefits while at the same time denying them for black folk. I got way off your point from 1705 back to the slave codes, but you get back to that point, okay?
No, that's okay. That's okay. Everybody, please let Dr. Anderson know that it's okay. Like, we need the knowledge. Like, we playing catch up. Some of y'all, a lot of us, including me, you know, are probably 20, 30 years behind in our education on what it means to be black in this country. We've been lied to for so long. And so I hope you let Dr. Anderson know that this is a godsend. Like, we really need this. And so, by the way, I want to make sure everybody knows, number one, if you're watching, please hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button. Make sure you hit that notification bell so that you will be informed whenever we go live. Also, next week is the All Black National Convention. So go to allblacknationalconvention.com. We're going to debate these issues in an honest format at the convention. So allblacknationalconvention.com. If you want to watch online, sign up at allblackeducation.com. That's allblackeducation.com. Also, Dr. Claud Anderson's books and access to his YouTube channel are all at powernomics.com. So if you go to powernomics.com, you can check out Dr. Anderson's books, which I think should be required reading for every child. Remember, you are the school system for your child, not the public school system. You're the school system. So in your school system right now, I hope that you will make required reading that your children read Powernomics and Black Labor, White Wealth, The Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. These are books where he's engaged in a lot of scholarly research. He's dug up detailed information. For example, I don't know, tell me yes or no. Has anybody in this room, has anybody in this room ever had a history teacher tell them that that the price that was paid to Indians for bringing back a black body was, what was it, $25 for the body, and then, or what? Wait, no, you capture the person, it's $25. You bring back the scalp with the ears attached.
$25 we brought him back alive. $22 it brought back his scalp and with his ears attached.
Right. Has anybody ever a teacher tell them that? Like the specifics, you know, and that's what I like about it, right? The specifics. You don't get these receipts anywhere else. And I don't think they would have ever, I mean, tell me, do you think that they would have ever told you this? Do you think they really want a nation full of pissed off black people? And this is just one of 1,000 different facts that they have not told you in school. So it's really important that we learn these things. So Dr. Anderson, I want to ask you this. You were talking about Obama a second ago.
Let me put in one last point on that. Then you go to the next question. And that is, see, they don't do that because right now they want to make sure that Indians are in an elevated status over black folk. That came about starting about 1915 in this country, after Indians had a sufficient ass whipping, and they'd taken, and the whites had taken over most of the land out west. They then began to feel a little guilty about Indians. They started injecting an ethos about their feelings about whites, about Indians, by putting them in different symbolic positions, like put the Indians on the back of a coin, Indian head nickel, or doing advertising with an Indian chief crying about what's happening to the environment. They started putting Indians posters up, trying to paint Indians in a positive sense. And then that was in about 1915. Then by 1938, Indians say, well, you know, we got a little bit of land and resources, but according to those treaties, we supposed to be taking care of black folk. And they said, but we don't want to give niggas nothing. And so what they did, they then wrote letters. Sent letters to the United States Department of Interior, federal government, and asked them, say, how can we avoid never giving black folk a damn thing? These are the same people that black folk keep crying about. We got to help Indians. These Indians have been screwing black folk now for all these damn years. But that treaty says, how can we get around not giving them anything and violate the treaties? And that letter bounced around in the federal government for about 1938 up to about 1941 or 42. And then the Secretary of Interior, again, and sent a letter back from the federal government saying this, that the best way for you to make sure you shut black folk down in this country, where you get benefits alone by yourselves, just like Obama did, give you all those benefits and give black folk nothing, is for you to come up with a new rule to shut them out. And the rule it's called a blood quantum law. Remember that now, Dr. Watkins, it's called a blood quantum law, which is how much blood is in the body. And so they ejected that, and they came out and they had the Congress in and act to say, from now on, anything for paying to black folk and black freemen and black Indians, they can't qualify for those benefits in those treaties unless they can prove a blood quantum law, which means they got to show they at least 1/4 inch in blood substance that is Indian. I mean, it must be Indian based. A nigga must have a 1/4 amount of Indian blood in his body to be entitled to it. That was conjectured up under the blood quantum law, which was made up in the 1940s to shut blacks all out. And right now, all the Indians talk about, you got to be a full-blooded, a quarter blood, a half blood. That has nothing in the world to do with the damn laws. The laws of the treaty laws, which are international laws, were in effect in 1866, didn't say a damn thing about quantum of blood. And black folk right now haven't gotten one damn penny, and nobody. So in conclusion, why in the world would black folk be meeting, talking about reparations? You tell me this, Dr. Watkins. Why the hell would they be talking about reparations? They didn't even have the simplest ass thing. Going back in history when they had a chance in the law, why'd you be trying to emotionalize and verbalize about trying to get reparations? You can't even go back and got enough information based on facts and history to demand what you're already entitled to. That's why it makes no damn sense to me. No, I don't want to be in those damn reparation discussions because most of them don't know what the hell they're talking about. And then most of them too lazy to go read and find out about it. And right now, if they take those 5 books called a library pack, the Powernomics Library Book Pack, that covers all these issues for them, lay it out in timelines, dates, as you said, and show them how to play the game and win, then they can play it. But most of them don't know what the hell they're talking about. They just emotionalize it. They sat down in the bathroom and say, well, I think I'll do this. I'm gonna make this hard. I'm gonna write me a book about this. They don't document, they don't research, they don't know what they're talking about. And half of them just got good hearts, but they don't study. And those library packs should be in every black home. The Black Powernomics Library Pack should be in every home, every school, and every library. And if it's not in there, there's no way in God's name you're gonna be able to deal with white folk and get a damn penny out of them, because reparation is a legal issue. I mean, right now they're making it a legal issue, but in fact, it's a political issue. If black folks stood up and had some backbone and spirit and some knowledge, they could get reparations tomorrow. But they're too scared, and they're too ill-informed. They're not going to do it.
All right. Well, you know, the blood quantum law, I think you guys should look that up. And Dr. Anderson, as you were speaking, I was Googling on that, and they brought up the Indian Reorganization Act of 1934, which they said that was one of the times they started using blood quantum to start to exclude people from the benefits, from the financial benefits.
And they said 1934. Really, the letter went up in 1938, but that's okay. That's good. That's all right. That's close to it.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that's important to understand. And it looks like as I was reading here, they were referencing a lot of legal challenges that people had to the use of these laws to exclude people. And so you have this lawsuit in court for many, many years. And this is something that we can rally behind. This is something politicians can connect to. This is something that celebrities that want the cause. How many years has your lawsuit been in court for over the 1866?
That's the beginning. I'm sorry, I couldn't hear you.
So for how many years have you pursued your legal challenge when it comes to the 1866 Indian Treaty?
Oh, well, I started raising Cain about it in about 1970 when I wrote the first affirmative action plan in the United States. And I wrote that in 1970. That was ratified by the governor and the council, city, and the cabinet system for Florida. It went all over the United States as an affirmative action plan, strictly and solely for black folk. But within 6 months, it was neutralized. They started throwing in everything on it. But lately, the last thing I did was I just went and filed a lawsuit in the federal courts, in the small claims court in 2007. That's been in the small claims court now for 11 years. And black folk, not one black politician has stood up yet. And I go up on the Hill, except Maxine Waters. Maxine Waters said, Dr. Anderson, please come up here on the Hill and explain the first step to reparations for black folk, the 1866 Indian Treaty. Please come in and do a PowerPoint presentation, which I did. And that they can buy that disc, the PowerPoint disc, up on the powernomics.com. It's a DVD that lays out everything, all the points for you on a DVD. And so every time I go up on the Hill and the Maxine tried to get me to do it, guess what? All the black congressmen in the Congressional Black Caucus, you know what they would do? They would run and hide in the bathroom rather than come for the luncheon to hear me talk about black folk. We don't want to talk about no black folk because that'll make people mad, because we believe in people of color and we believe in diversity. We believe in multicultural, and we believe in minorities. And as I said, that shows some ignorance, because the Diversity Act they're talking about right now, the Diversity Act was a major component in the 1705, going back to what you told me, going back to this book, in 1705, the major component in the 1705 slave code was the Diversity Act. And you know what the Diversity Act was? The Diversity Act says that they want to make sure they maintain control of Black folk in this country in all respects, to make sure they're a permanent minority. The Diversity Act was designed to make Black folk a permanent minority. They said in the South, in the southern states, in the Diversity Act, where Black folk make up like from Georgia, Alabama, Mississippi, Louisiana, Florida, where Blacks were made up the dominant, up to 50% of the population, that for every every 4 Blacks, you must have at least 1 white person to be in control of them. That was a Diversity Act in the South, saying that for every 4 Blacks, or 5 Blacks, you get it most as slaves, you must have at least 1 white person to be in control of them. And when the Georgia colony came in, what they did, when the Georgia colony came in 1733, they didn't have enough whites. You know what they did to make sure they had enough whites to be over these Black people? They then requested more people be shipped in from England to come in to be over these Black people. And England said, we don't have any more people who are willing to get on a boat and travel for 2 months to come over there. And they said, but they said, get some. And what England did, they cleaned out their jails. They cleaned out their prisons. They cleaned out their mental institution, their insane asylums, and their hospital. They put them all on damn boats and shipped them to the United States to create another colony called the Georgia colony. The Georgia colony came in effect based on crazy kooks and thicks and crooks, but to be a buffer in this country, but to make sure 2 things: that Blacks could not escape from South Carolina and run to Florida, which is Spanish territory, and also make sure there's sufficient amount of whites to dominate and control these Blacks in the country. 1 white for every 4 to 5 Blacks. Now in the North, they did just the opposite. They said, we don't want the Blacks up North. So what we're doing, we're gonna bring in all the decent whites. They got some senses in the country, but we don't want Blacks to compete with them or be equal to them. So we want 5 whites in the North for every 1 Black up the North. So they reversed it. So up North, in the northern states, intentionally, Dr. Watkins, you could have 1 Black up there, and they brought in 5 whites for every Black in the North. That's why all the way from New York all the way over to Wisconsin, they came in from all those European countries. They imported them in to make sure the whites were the management class and the ownership class in the North. They didn't want any Black slaves up there. They had a few Black slaves, not very many, just for household effects. But the Diversity Act says in the North, make sure that you got enough whites up there, immigrants in the North, to dominate, control for every 1 Black. You got 5 whites in the North. In the South, it was just the opposite. In the South, for every 4 to 5 Blacks you got to make sure that you have 1 white who's in the management or the ownership class. That's called the Diversity Act of 1705. And yet I go to all these damn meetings, I hear Black folks stand up at meetings proudly proclaiming that they believe in social integration, civil rights, and diversity for all people. You can't be that dumb unless you stuck on glue and with a certificate.
Well, you know what? I'll tell you what. I think it's maybe some of us are dumb. Some of us are ignorant. You know, I include myself in the category of ignorant in the sense that, you know, I was ignorant of a lot of the things you're teaching me. You know, I think the first thing that I had to accept is I had to accept my ignorance for me to be able to grow. And I know that a lot of things you're teaching here, we are ignorant of. You know, a lot of us did not learn these things in school. And I know personally I'm committed to eradicating my ignorance so I can have some intelligence. And so everybody, I want you guys to just a reminder to you guys, and I'm asking one more question before I let them get out of here. But I'm speaking with Dr. Claud Anderson, who's the author of the books Powernomics, Black Labor, White Wealth, a Black History Reader, Dirty Little Secrets 1 and 2. His website is powernomics.com. That's powernomics.com. I encourage you to go take a look at the site. In the upper right-hand corner is a link to his YouTube channel. Please go and mob the YouTube channel. Everybody subscribe to his YouTube channel because this is one of the few people who's talking about the reparations debate with historical receipts and detailed information and knowledge and understanding and teaching about why we deserve reparations and how we can build Powernomics principles based on the principles that were used to enslave us. So please go take a look at that. conversations like this will continue also at the All Black National Convention next week, which you can learn more about that at allblacknationalconvention.com. It's going to be in Houston. I was on last night where Willie D from the Ghetto Boys was going to be there, along with a lot of other very intelligent people. Dr. Anderson joined us at the last All Black National Convention, but we get to have a convention here every single week because he's one of the few people that I want to hear every week, because I think that what he teaches is that important. And so, Dr. Anderson, I'm going to ask you this. I'd like to show you a video.
Can I say one thing before we move to that? Let me apologize. I don't mean to poo-poo those who are meeting on reparations, are trying the best they can to move it forward. And if I sound too aggressive and brittle and brutal and saying that they need to be educated, that's not what I really mean. That's what I feel, but that's not appropriate. If they come out and meet and discuss it, that's good, and that's a step forward. And I love that they at least sensitized to the fact we have a problem. We need to correct the whole purpose of slavery. But on the other hand, as I said, it would be better off and better fitting for us if they really had a knowledge or background on the issues before they go public, so that white folk won't make them look silly in discussing it. White folk love for black folk to come to the table and major in the mind and dig in emotional issues. White folk think that's a joke because they don't feel anything for black folk. 98% of the whites right now are still opposed to reparations for black folk. 98% are opposed today, this day in 2019. They're still opposed for reparations for black folk. And guess what? In 1860, on the eve of the Civil War, 98% of the whites in America were totally, absolutely opposed to freeing blacks from slavery. Now you deal with that.
Well, I think that's an important point. And I'll show you this video. Another person that knows a little bit about economics, a lot about economics, who comes on the channel every now and then, is Dr. Julianne Malveaux. And Dr. Malveaux wrote a book called Are We Better Off? And it's all about President Obama and what Obama did and did not do for black folks. And Dr. Anderson, I'm gonna play this video for you. It's about 60 seconds, 90 seconds long. And it's a clip from when Dr. Malveaux came on to onto the podcast. And she talks about a meeting she had with Barack Obama when he was about to run for president. And when she asked him about reparations. So I want you to listen to this, watch this video, and then I want to get your assessment on this and why the Obama presidency was so ineffective and so non-committal when it comes to discussions about reparations for black folks. Here's the clip. Books are called Surviving and Thriving, 365 Facts on Black Economic History. Also, she wrote Are We Better Off? Race, Obama, and Public Policy. And by the way, everybody, if you just came in, please hit the thumbs up button, hit the share button, subscribe button. If you're on YouTube, take 1 second also when you hit the subscribe button, because you're on the Black Financial Channel, theblackfinancialchannel.com, hit that notification bell so you'll be notified whenever we go live. It's very important. Hit the notification bell. Also, a reminder to everybody, the All Black National Convention is in 10 days. Education.com. The first month is free, so it's an opportunity. He's asking for an investigation. Do you think that has merit? And what are just your general thoughts about that? About somebody leaving office and then suddenly making just tons of money, white, black, or otherwise?
Well, first of all, 45 is the last person to be talking about investigating somebody for deals. We could investigate that Trump hotel down the street where he has foreign dignitaries staying. We could investigate the fact that he wants to have a G7 summit at the Trump Mar-a-Lago. We could investigate Ivanka getting those trademarks from China for her.
Okay, so that's an interesting part of it. Actually, Dr. Anderson, what I want to do is I'm going to move forward here because apparently I got the wrong video, but I'm gonna find this because I want you to hear this part. So you guys bear with me as I jump to the part where she talks about Obama.
Back to the publisher.
It's easy to imagine to people
around influence peddling, but I don't care for the Bushes, as you know, or objectively.
That right there, my
president. I'm the nation's president. That was a tragedy of Obama. I mean, the good news about Obama is that he was. Let's pull it back. Barack Obama never claimed to be a progressive, to be left of center. He was always pretty much a Democratic centrist. His views were not very different from Hillary. She probably was to the left of him. She probably would have done more for Black people than he did. He was always caught up in, I'm not a Black president, I'm the nation's president. I remember I interviewed him in 2004. I was working with Willie Gary's television station at the time. At the convention, I was lucky enough to snag him. We know people in common, Charles Ogletree, others. So we're having a very, very lovely conversation until I ask him about reparations. At which point, my man jumps up off the chair and says, "Turn that camera off." He has a total.
Oh, wait! Don't skim over that story. Are y'all as shocked as I am? So tell us more. So you talked to President Obama.
Well, I was able to get. He was senator then.
Senator Obama. Okay.
Well, so I was able to get. In fact, he was a state senator then. He hadn't even run for Senate. Remember, he was a keynote speaker at the 2004 Democratic Convention. One of the speakers. So I was working for Willie Gary, and I was charged with, gathering stories and, wearing my journalist hat. I begged, borrowed, and everything else to get him. Everybody, he was a hot ticket. Ogletree helped. A bunch of people called. Rock, you got to talk to Malvo. So there we had it. We're in my suite. You'll never forget it. The Cora Berry was sitting in the other side of the room. She's like, "I'm not getting in your interview," but she did jump in for a couple of pictures. But anyway, we're having a great conversation, really great conversation. His little handler had said, "I only had 15 minutes, but we did the, how Black people are. We do the getting to know you, who we know in common." It turned out we were there for like 30, 40 minutes until I asked about reparations. When I asked about reparations, he totally went off. Like he jumped off the chair. He said, turn off the microphone. We're not recording this. And, he did not even want to be in the same sentence, in the same room with reparations. So he's like, nope, to the nope, to the nope. Next thing you know, the little handler is gathering up their stuff. And I'm like, okay, dude, can we at least close the interview out? I can say bye so we can edit this part out and we can say bye and it's civil. So we did. And,
Okay, so at that point, what was really funny, Dr. Anderson, is everybody had conspiracy theories, because at that point, Dr. Malvo's video froze and we got disconnected, and people said that the NSA was watching because she's telling the secret stories that nobody else hears about. So you just heard that, Dr. Anderson, that Dr. Julianne Malvo was interviewing Barack Obama about reparations, and when she brought that up, he immediately jumped up, wanted to turn the cameras off, didn't want to talk no more. Can you give us what your take was based on what you just saw?
First of all, I want to thank Julianne Malvo for that, and I appreciate it until I said, "Good job," and for pulling the sheet off of Obama and exposing him for what he really was. And like he said up in New York, in Ohio, one convention, that he had very little interest in Black people, but he did the same thing on a Black radio station too, in out of Atlanta, Georgia. They asked about reparations. He shut them down too. And my friend Joanne Watson, Councilwoman Joanne Watson of Detroit, Michigan, and also Councilwoman Maxine Waters, I told him get on him about doing something for Black folk, since he's given everything to Indians, and who were also slave holders. Indians were slave holders. And why would you be rewarding them for doing in the Black people? He should have been rewarding the slave, not the slave holder. And so Joanne Watson and Maxine Waters addressed him about that very quickly once. He says, I don't want to get involved in that. Only way I do anything for Black folk is they have to make me. And the question that is, why would Black folk have to make you do something for them? At the same time, you espouse this dumbass rhetoric about, I'm the president of all the people. If you're the president of all the people, why aren't you the president of Black folk? Black folk make up a part of that all. They're part of the all. Why don't you do something for them? And but then one of my two white friends who are very prominent professional people told me, said, Dr. Anderson, you got to quit asking that question. Said, don't you know that there's no way Obama would have been elected to the president of the United States had white folk had the simplest idea, or even a single of an idea, that somehow, if he were to get elected, he's gonna do something for Black folk. They said, we knew he wouldn't never do anything for Black folk. One was my dentist. My dentist was a very prominent dentist here in Washington, D.C. He told me once, he says, there's no way any of his friends would have voted for him. They said he knew from the get-go he would never do anything for Black folk. And he stayed true to that course. Can you hear me?
Yeah. I sure can.
And the legacy for that legacy, you offer me, the legacy for that is that in the Black Labor White Wealth book, not the Black Labor White Wealth, but in the Black History Reader, I then wrote in there what his legacy. The legacy for Obama is this, which is very dangerous. Legacy is this, that Obama did absolutely nothing for Black folk, point one. Now, but his legacy is this, is that now he says he didn't do anything for Black people. It makes it very difficult for Black people to go to a white person like Donald Trump and says, why don't you do something for us? All Donald Trump and any elected official like Connolly or anybody else, all they have to do is say, hey, you had a Black man as a president in the White House for 8 years. He didn't do a damn thing for you. Why would you expect us as white folks to do something for you? That is Obama's legacy. Obama's legacy is now, he set up a model. He set a model for behavior towards Black folk at the highest levels in this country. Since not one president in the history of this nation ever did a damn thing for Black people, Obama didn't do anything either. And what he did, he contravened what the praying Black slave said once. He was kneeling praying and says, I wish someday that they would arise among our people, a Black man who would know our suffering and would fight our battles. And one rose up, we call Obama. He didn't do a damn thing to fight their battles and nor relieve their suffering.
Well, you know, I'll tell you what, I thought it was really funny. I watched Al Sharpton interview one of Trump's people, and I heard Sharpton ask him about something that he would never have. I never saw him ask anybody from the Obama administration. I think that the Trump guy said something about Black unemployment. And so Sharpton said, well, what are you going to do to close the unemployment and the wealth gap? And I thought about that and I said, why are you asking Trump to close the wealth gap? Y'all, we didn't vote for Trump. We gave the vote to Obama, but you never asked that question of Obama because he would have bitch slapped your ass for asking him questions in public. Excuse my French. He would have pimp slapped you. He had you under his control, so you were not allowed to ask questions, but you can go ask Trump. So that's kind of weird, right? It's almost like if a child is starving to death and they don't ask their own parents for food, but they go ask their enemy for food. You know, like that doesn't even make any sense. Like, why did you ask the people who supposedly loved you, but you asking the people who hate you, but to do the things that the people that loved you were supposed to do? And so I think
you know what kind of answer you get from Black folk if you raise that as a question, what they do. I said, Black folk, I said, why did you demand that Obama address the needs and the historical legacies of slavery against Black folk while he was in the highest office of the land and the most visible, prominent, powerful men on earth? Why didn't you ask him to do something for folk? As he did absolutely nothing. You know the kind of response you get from some of our need to grows, NEED-TO-NEGRO. You know what they would say? Well, Dr. Anderson, you know, he might not have done anything for us. That's okay. It just made us feel good to know he was there. I said, it makes you doubly dumb. You doubling down on your dumbness. Damn.
Well, y'all heard it here. Y'all heard it here first. I would like to ask if you guys could join me in giving Dr. Claud Anderson a round of applause for really dropping knowledge. So please give Dr. Anderson a digital round of applause. And I got these little sound effects, Dr. Anderson. I think I love to use them. And I'll tell you what, I appreciate everything that you have said today. I think this knowledge is powerful, but this knowledge should be included in the debates on reparations. I will say this publicly, Dr. Anderson. I didn't know if you told me it's okay to mention this or not, but I know we a lot of y'all saw Killer Mike speaking on the stage. Well, Killer Mike is consulting with Dr. Anderson. Dr. Anderson has given him books. Dr. Anderson has met with him, shared ideas with him. Same thing, he shared the same way he shares ideas with me. And Killer Mike and I talk. And so ultimately, there's a lot of conversation happening behind the scenes. And the ultimate goal is unity, clarity in terms of direction and purpose, and also making sure that we have the information, knowledge, and receipts we need in order to have the debate we need to have. So Dr. Anderson is one of those people that can do that. He's put in the work. In fact, I'd ask you this, Dr. Anderson, real quick. How long did it take you to write Powernomics? I know that you did a lot of research and reference.
It took me about 9 months. About 9 months. I didn't have to do that much research. Almost all the information in that book is in my head already. I just all I do is just find time to sit down and write it. Most of the time I don't have to do that much research when I don't have to, because I got a library in my basement, a library upstairs. I know what's on every page. So I know what's in the books already. So I don't have to go down there. My mind becomes a library. And with all those information I've stacked in there over the years. And that's one of the things that that Governor Ruben Askew and President Carter and Clinton used to comment me about. They said, you know, you keep all this information stored in your head. I said, that's right. So I can find it right up here. And I keep it there, but I'm getting older now and my mind is slipping. So tell me better get it out of my head as fast as they can. And if they can't get it out of my head, I'm saying it to them again, that go to as soon as you get off the computer today, go to, with the Boyce Watkins show, go directly to powernomics.com and go to and order that library pack for $99. They can get all 5 of those books plus a DVD. This is critically important. If you're going to understand the reparations in general and Black folks' problems in particular and solutions that they need, you got to go to those books. Go order those books today. Get it and put them in your home for every Black child. So when he goes to school, he doesn't have to spend all day reading about George Washington and Benjamin Franklin and Thomas Jefferson. Tell them to read those books so they can stand up and fight and be a proud people and push back against white racism in America. That goes to the powernomics.com and get the library pack, the Powernomics library pack for $99. And usually when you tell them to do it, I know I'm suggesting they do it, but they don't do it when I say it. But I tell you one thing, if that's what Dr. Watkins says, for them to go buy that book, they don't run over each other. They go get those damn books. And as soon as I get a chance, I'm gonna call the corporation and say, our people are waking up. Are they ordering those books? Let's see, how many are they gonna order? How many are gonna get the library pack? So today is what, Thursday? Between now and Monday, I'm gonna see how many orders come in. So tell them, I want you to encourage them right now. Tell them, go get those damn library packs for $99. Let's see what happens to them. I'm gonna count the packs that are sold.
Well, you guys know that I believe in it. And I'll tell you, Dr. Anderson, you don't have to tell them to go get it. I'll tell them to go get it. You just keep being smart. You keep being who you want to be. And it's up to you guys to decide what you'd like to do. I'm gonna say I wouldn't mention this if I did not. So feel free to go take a look and give it some thought. And you know, before you go spend money on a bucket of Popeye's chicken or whatever it is that we encourage you to spend money on, just understand that, you know, that knowledge is power. The application of knowledge is even greater. And so if we want to achieve our goals, we have to start by really taking over the educational process of our children. So I encourage you guys to do that. It's powernomics.com. That's the website. Also, don't forget, All Black National Convention happens this week. Visiting allblacknationalconvention.com. We have a lot of great people coming through, therapists, historians, entrepreneurs, real estate experts, medical doctors. We're going to have panels on health and women, politics, relationships, real estate, business, investing. I'm going to teach a masterclass on investing. So if you want to learn more, go to allblacknationalconvention.com. If you want to come out, also, I'll be in New York the next month. You can go to drboycenewyork.com to learn about that event. It's a day-long investing seminar. We're going to have an elevator pitch competition where you'll be in a room full of Black wealth builders who invest in themselves. And we're going to build businesses right there in that room. I'm going to show you guys how and invest in things, build things, and create things. So drboycenewyork.com. You should fly in. It is worth it. I guarantee it. So anyway, take care, guys. Please hit the thumbs up button, share, and subscribe button. Thank you very much, Dr. Anderson. It's always a pleasure, my friend.
Well, and thank you. And I don't know how much weight it would carry, but I wish all of your subscribers would go to attend your schools and go to your conventions and learn more about the Black Business School and help empower our people as a group.
Well, I appreciate that very much. And speaking of that, you guys can go right over there right now to theblackbusinessschool.com. We have ladies on the line to talk to you right now. They'll talk to you right this second, chat with you, video chat with you, phone chat with you about your personalized wealth plan, what your economic future is, what you'd like to do with your family. And again, there's no pressure to spend any money, even though the programs are low cost. It's better than college because it's specifically designed for Black people. I was a college professor for 5 years. I have other PhDs. We just added a Forex curriculum. So that's a real big addition to the school. And so if you guys want to go take a look and talk to our people over there, feel free. And if you're not ready to invest today, that's fine. You can just get a free membership. We guarantee that our free membership is better than the $100,000 you spend going to college. Why do I know that? Because I was a college professor. I know what you get and I know what we need. And so we've actually evolved the model into 21st century education. So just go give it a try. If you don't believe me, go take a look and I guarantee you're going to love it. So take care, guys. Have a good day. And thank you again, Dr. Anderson. I really appreciate your time. It's good to see you.
All right, bye-bye.
All right, bye-bye now.